Decent episode of NXT this week. Unfortunately, there was some bizarreness where my channel 20 was taken over by NCIS. Why was NCIS on when I was supposed to be watching my NXT? Why am I looking at whatever crime drama this was from CBS? And CBS was running the same thing. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So I ended up having to look up a stream and ended up watching NXT on stream. So I did watch the entire show, no problem. But very awkward for me to turn it to, I forget, what is it, WD? No, it's not WDIV. That's channel 4, I think. I don't know what channel it is. WXYZ? That's channel 7. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the show. 6-woman tag, JC Jane and the rest of Fatal Influence defeat Izzy Dame, Lola Vice, and Tatum Paxley. And Izzy Dame took the finish for Paxley. They had her push Tatum Paxley out of the way. Okay, this was moving kind of slow. I thought this was going to be a bigger deal when it comes to Paxley and Izzy Dame. They're still kind of doing the friendship thing. And also, now Izzy Dame is the Zarya to Tatum Paxley, where, you know, she's eaten all of her losses. Which I guess is fine, because Izzy Dame hasn't won a ton of matches anyway, but very weird decision making. Later on, Paxley promised to be more judicious with championship matches going forward, and she blamed herself for the loss because Izzy Dame got attacked for her. So there's very little growth going on here. JC Jane wants a rematch, obviously, but she's still up to no good. I guess she wants to defend the title again next week, or I think she just wants to fight JC Jane. At least I hope that's the case. We haven't gotten the thumbs up on the JC Jane rematch yet, but we kind of figured that's coming. You know, there's no point in losing any sleep over that. I can imagine. Let's talk about the next match here. Let's see. Josh Briggs loses to El Grande Americano. This is one of the few El Grande Americano matches I did not want to see. This guy has tremendous charisma. I mean, Ludwig Kaiser is fantastic. He speaks Spanish now. So he speaks Spanish exclusively now. Which, of course, is the character. He wanted his own locker room, but he couldn't get one. He was instead stuck with Josh Briggs, who picked a fight with him. We got some cameos. That's what we'll start calling run-ins. Jasper Troy standing in the crowd watching. He's going to wrestle for the Speed title. Tavion Heights jumped in the ring. He's been having issues with Josh Briggs. And Los Americanos, the two small men who's been hanging out with El Grande, they attacked Josh Briggs, which opened the door to El Grande Americano winning with a submission hold. It's quite one of the most boring looking submission holds ever, too. It looks like a rest hold. Like something you would have seen in, like, 1993 or something like that in a mid-card WCW match, and it would not have been the finish at all. But they wanted to have El Grande Americano on television before the Speed Championship, and I think it was cute, but I didn't care about this match with Josh Briggs because it's hard for me to care about a match with Josh Briggs in it. And I love, my favorite part of Josh Briggs is when the crowd chants for him to go away. That rules. That kicks all kinds of ass. The Ren QCC, they're fully together now, even though it's basically just Ren Sinclair and Kendall Gray doing all the talking. But Keelani Jordan approached them and told them to listen to her, to go find a monitor and listen to her, as she's going to explain some things. And she cut pretty much the best promo she's ever done. And this one actually felt like a real heel promo. Again, this is the second time they've turned her heel. This time it might actually stick. She basically, the central point of this whole thing is that she's calling out all the hypocrisy that's going on there in NXT. She got booed for cheating, but they cheered Cody for cheating. They cheered Dominic Mysterio for cheating. Put an asterisk right there. Dominic Mysterio is a heel after all. She said all she wanted to do was bring prestige and honor to the championship that she won, the TNA Knockouts title. And she was labeled a traitor for it. And she was kicked out of the locker room. But nobody kicked Lola Vice out of the locker room when she represents AAA. And of course, nobody's kicked Ethan Page out of the locker room because now he's a AAA champion too, which I'll talk about that in a second. Let's get through this. But so she's kind of upset. She says it's her time to be selfish. And she comes to the understanding that people are just jealous of her. They're jealous of her career and all the things that she has achieved. And since that NXT has no loyalty, it's her time to be selfish. She then said that she saw Lei Ying Lee's video, because Lei Ying Lee did a video basically saying that she dishonored the Knockouts Championship and she wants to take that belt from her. And she said that she will not be defending the title against Lei Ying Lee, nor will she be defending the title at Gold Rush. And she says, and I beat Lei Ling Yi anyway. I can't get this girl's name right to save my life. Lei Ying Lee. Ava decided that she was going to press Keelani about this whole thing. And Keelani put her in her place by saying, you can't tell me when to defend my title. You're not the boss of TNA. And then Tyra May Steele showed up. And this woman is an Olympic gold medalist and said that she used to look up to Keelani Jordan. Very weird. She looked up to Keelani Jordan. Oh my. Anyway, Ava said, well, you're still an NXT talent, so you have to wrestle NXT talent. So she put her in a match with Tyra May Steele, which Keelani Jordan ultimately won, of course, and actually quite quick fashion. You didn't get to see much out of Tyra May Steele here. There's not much to see from what I saw in the past. There wasn't much to see. She won with the split leg moonsault. Then Santino popped up on the big screen and said that Keelani will be defending the Knockouts title in New York at the Gold Rush show against Lei Ying Lee and Jordan Grace in a triple threat match. Oh, brother, they made it a triple threat match. Oh, my goodness. I gotta say, Keelani Jordan, she's doing much better this time as a heel than she did last time. Last time she was just too damn adorable, and everybody just kind of was like, no, we're not buying into it. We're not buying any of the heel propaganda. Forget it. But this time, it's actually kind of sticking, which is good. And I think her performance has been much better, too. Obviously, her promos will have to pick up, but that will come in time. The more she's able to actually get out there and actually, be a little bit more forceful. As long as she has a central message, she should be okay. Zarya won her speed tournament match, defeating Ren Sinclair. This is the first match Zarya has won in forever. Usually Zarya loses a lot, but she won this time. Zarya has been trending on social media specifically for her Halloween costume when she dressed like a pimp. But the most important bit of all of that was that she wasn't wearing, her gimmick makeup. So people got to see how she really looks, which, it's not the first time she's been, seen without her gimmick makeup on. But a lot of people took note to how tall and fine she is, which is, kind of shocking. Because the gimmick makeup does cover up so much. That girl is cute. She's a baddie. So Ruka is almost back already. She wants to fight Blake Monroe, a.k.a. Mariah May, in New York City for the Women's North American Championship. Ava refuses to let it happen because Ava is a douche and says that, you're still not medically cleared. Crazy, right? We literally have not filled in the role of the speed champion, and So Ruka is back already. I don't get it. What was the point in vacating her titles if she's not going to be out that long? If she's back already, that's crazy. Anyway, both Fallon Henley and Zarya argued backstage about which one of them was going to be the speed champion. Fallon Henley has to defeat some lady by the name of Skylar Ray, which, again, I don't think these people know how to name each other without sounding like porn stars. So now there's another girl running around by the name of Skylar Ray. I've never seen her before in my life. I haven't seen her on Evolve. I haven't seen her anywhere. So Skylar Ray is a person who exists that Fallon Henley is going to have to beat, which should not be a problem if we're being honest. So we'll see next week. All right, Javon Evans defeated Shaquan Sugars. And let me tell you that Javon Evans is still top tier when it comes to athleticism. He basically ran circles around Dark State all night. And after he beat Shaquan Sugars with a tornado splash, which was crazy, he evaded them. And that was it. That was the end of it. He got away. This match was okay. It was really most of a showcase for Javon Evans, if we're being honest. And I'm still on the team that they need to break up Dark State. And I don't think it's doing this guy specifically, because he seems to be pretty good. I don't think it's really doing him any favors to be stuck in Dark State, if we're being honest. All right. The only segment they did outside of Keelani Jordan's in-ring segment was a championship a celebration for Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. So they were in the ring talking about the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championships that they won. For some reason, this really bothers one of the listeners to this channel. They had a fit in the comment section in a completely unrelated video about Chelsea Green teaming with Ethan Page. Look, I didn't book the show. I don't know what you want me to be mad about, but I'm not mad. There's a lot of people who are upset also because WWE once again has taken AAA championships and put them on quote-unquote WWE talent, even though they're all the same. It's not a working relationship. WWE owns AAA. So these talent can be cross-promoted. It's not a big deal. Anyway, Chelsea Green and Ethan Page defeated La Hydra and Mr. Iguana in Mexico to win the AAA Mixed Tag Team Championship. This was used as an angle to break up La Hydra and Mr. Iguana so that Mr. Iguana and Lola Vice could be partners, which they have been teasing for the last couple of months anyway. So it all makes sense on that regard. And I'm not sure how much they're going to use La Hydra, if we're being honest. In any event, Ethan Page and Chelsea Green are very excited. And I specifically really like that Chelsea Green talked about never meeting Ethan Page before she had to do the first segment with him. And she loved the chemistry that the two of them had, and she wants to bring him to the main roster as part of her entourage. And I'm not sure Ethan Page is best served as part of Chelsea Green's entourage, but if it gets him out of NXT, that's great. He ain't quite super senior. He's only been in NXT about a year, maybe two. So he ain't been in NXT super long. But I like the two of them working together. They did find a sweet spot where they work tremendously. And they are similar characters. I thought they were really good. The promo was built around Chelsea Green nearly saying the name Joe Hendry. There was a gigantic cake in the ring. So everybody thought, okay, she's going to say the name Joe Hendry and Joe Hendry's going to hop out of the cake. So eventually Ethan Page just says, go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say his name. So Chelsea Green says Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry's theme song plays. He just kind of pops up in the ramp. And Joe Hendry and Ethan Page have words. Ethan Page thinks Joe Hendry wants the North American title. And Joe Hendry, oddly enough, wants the AAA Mixed Tag Team titles? Huh? Okay. And he said he's got a partner and he wants the AAA Mixed Tag Team belts. So they said, say your partner's name and she shall appear. And the music plays, and it's Thea Hale, and she is inside the cake. And the two of them attack Ethan Page and Chelsea Green, of course, covering them in cake and whatnot. So Joe Hendry and Thea Hale are going to be the tag team here. Outside of that one segment they did together, I don't know what they have in common. Like, I don't know what they have in common. I guess Thea Hill just being a high energy babyface kind of works. I think she can make it work, and I think she deserves a push. I'm not sure they should win the titles, but she deserves a push. Thea Hill has went from being a top contender wrestling on pay-per-view events to basically being knocked around on. She wasn't losing matches on Evolve, but she was sent to Evolve, and then she was called back, and now she's doing this with Joe Hendry. It seems like she's just without a rudder since Chase University ended. So if this gives her some direction, I'm fine with it. Of course, Chelsea Green and Ethan Page, they need some characters to play off of, and this is a good idea. Joe Hendry's in an interesting place where he's kind of got 1 foot in NXT, 1 foot in TNA, and now they're going to do some business with AAA. I'm guessing they're going to have this match in New York. That's my guess, because I'm pretty sure they're going to want Chelsea Green at that show. So we'll see how that manages to turn out. But ultimately, I thought it was weird that it wasn't just going to be Joe Hendry versus Ethan Page for the North American title, which seemed like a shoe-in for an idea, and one hell of an idea at that. But I could see that this is probably going to blossom into that. That maybe Joe Hendry starts getting Ethan Page's number, and it blossoms into Ethan Page versus Joe Hendry for the North American title. Now, it wasn't mentioned on the show, but it should have been, that El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. challenged Ethan Page to a match for the Latin American Championship. This was before Ethan Page won the mixed tag team title. So he wanted basically revenge for losing the North American Championship match, and now wants to give Ethan Page an opportunity to win his belt. Now, WWE is a big fan of everybody running around with 2 belts now. It's been a thing the last several years, and AEW really ain't helping matters having people run around with multiple belts. So now Ethan Page has got 2 belts, and they're going to work on getting him a third, even though I don't think he's going to win that one. I think he's going to lose that match. But that could also be the match for New York, is the El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Ethan Page. No, that match is going to be in December. I think that match is for the AAA show. So, El Hijo del Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Ethan Page for the Latin American Championship. You got to follow everything, I guess. NXT is canon to everything. So you have to follow everything in order to get the full story. I try, man. I'm trying, man. It's a little bit more fun to follow with NXT than it would be if it was main roster stuff. I can tell you that. So the last little piece here is Ricky Starks and Trick Williams. Ricky Starks and Trick Williams are going to have a last man standing match next week on NXT. So they're not even going to wait for the New York show. So that's fine. Ricky Starks says that Trick Williams has a huge ego. He doesn't really care about NXT. He only cares about himself. While Ricky Starks cares about NXT, and he did at one point think it was just a stopgap, but now he sees it as an opportunity to take NXT to new heights. Trick Williams says that Ricky Starks is a fan. He's not a real champion, and he needs to go buy a belt off a WWE shop like the rest of the fans. Ricky Starks wanted to fight, so he went and looked for Trick Williams, only to get hit with a pipe. Now, I love when somebody get hit with a pipe in wrestling. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things of all time, is somebody getting hit with pipes. It's amazing, I must say. So they're, of course, telling the story of next week, so Trick Williams might have a chance to win the title back, because he bludgeoned Ricky Starks with a pipe. I like this desperate, angry Trick Williams, incredibly aggressive. I like this. And Ricky Starks needed this. He needed a contender to really bring out the best of him. And I think Trick Williams is good at that. I don't know what they're going to do when Trick is gone. I don't know what they're going to do with Trick gone and Tony D'Angelo gone and Obafemi gone. Who's next at that point? All right. So that was NXT. It was okay. From an in-ring product, it was kind of weak. In terms of storytelling, it was fine. I didn't hate the pipe, obviously. I'm a big fan of guys hitting the pipe. I like Thea Hill. Her getting an opportunity here with Joe Hendry is fun. Joe Hendry is a beloved babyface, and so is she. And people liked to hate Chelsea Green and Ethan Page, and that's a good setup right there. Keelani Jordan is coming to her own as a heel, so I can't complain about that either. I think that's pretty fun. So the women's championships are kind of iffy because, yeah, there's a lot of storytelling there, but it's kind of obfuscated where Paxley is still a part of this group, and the group is too big of a part of the story where they need to take a step back, I guess. But she's also not done with Fatal Influence, so she needs the help. So I understand that. Let's talk about one more thing before we go. Kind of a bonus segment, surprise segment. Bryan Alvarez and his utter hatred of Ava. Bryan Alvarez, on his podcast, he reviews NXT. He's brutal to NXT, by the way. But he's especially brutal on Ava. He's been brutal on Ava for months. But he went nuts, I think last week, over something Ava did on screen. And he went on his podcast and said, quote, "I'm sick of the storyline that Ava is fucking incompetent. Like, she allowed the show and storyline to be ruined by these fucking guys. She didn't do anything about it. Didn't find them, suspend them, nothing. She just let them fucking ruin the fucking show. And then at the end she goes, we gotta solve this problem. Trick, you're gonna have a rematch for the title. Last man standing in 2 weeks or whatever the fuck." I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? They ruined your goddamn show and your ruling is that this guy gets a championship match? You're rewarding this fucking guy? I was like, this show sucks. And then he continues by saying that she's the consistently worst written character on television, and then saying the funny thing is, I'll give Ava one thing. She is the most consistent character in all of wrestling, bar none, consistently fucking terrible. And her gimmick is a lazy Gen Z out there nepo hire who doesn't ever want to fucking work. Everybody else has to do all the work, and she's going to get credit for it. Wow. And he went nuts on her, okay? He was very angry. Very, very, very angry. He was so mad that she eventually saw the clip and said, man, I remember my first day on Earth too. I don't even know what that means. It doesn't matter. But he was extremely angry at her. People were saying that Bryan Alvarez was a misogynist, that he was a homophobe, even though the character of Ava is not gay. At least we don't think so. He didn't mention anything about Simone Johnson as a person. But, you know, if somebody's gay, then they're gay. Anyway, somebody from NXT, Kelly Kincaid, who used to wrestle. She was a wrestler. And she used to wrestle in Ring of Honor. She was also doing a commentary thing in Ring of Honor. She's a backstage interviewer for NXT now. She lost her job when Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor. So she's been working in NXT. And she responded to Bryan Alvarez and his meltdown by saying, it's weird because I don't ever see referees getting the same heat for letting chaos ensue in multiple person tags or the same criticism of any other authority figures. You think she's an easy target. You think you're punching up. You're not. She does a great job. Shut up. Bryan Alvarez responded to this by saying, I think the larger issue is that I never said Simone Johnson sucked at her job. I specifically, every time, said that Ava, the character, is the worst GM in wrestling history. So he's defending it by saying, I was talking about Ava, not Simone Johnson. Well, this is one of the few times, and you could mark it on your calendar, where I'm going to agree with Bryan Alvarez, and then I'm going to take it to the next level because Simone Johnson fucking sucks. All right? Her giant chicken George teeth, she cannot fucking talk. She is not a good promo. Let's compare her to somebody else, because she operates out of a same character arc as Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce. Okay, now Nick Aldis is more controlling. He will find the guys. He will, ban people from ringside. He will come out there himself and eject people from the ring. He's more of a what Gorilla Monsoon was when he was, involved as a authority figure for the WWF back in the day. Gorilla Monsoon used to get involved, get in the ring, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of how Nick Aldis is. He gets overwhelmed sometimes when guys are getting, are doing too much, but Nick Aldis will eventually bring the hammer down. Compare that to Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce is the other side, where Adam Pearce yells at everybody because they're basically a shade above adolescence, throwing temper tantrums, and Adam Pearce is constantly yelling at talent. He never really finds people, but he's always yelling at them. And at the end of him losing his mind, he always needs a drink. I gotta have a drink. He's frustrated. But there is emotional range to Adam Pearce. You could see Adam Pearce getting frustrated. You could hear it in his tone of voice. You could see it. When he's yelling at these guys, you could tell that things are out of control, and he's trying to get things back under control, and he can't. Because he's dealing with these grown ass toddlers here. Ava, there's none of that. She may get loud, but you never really get a sense that Ava is overwhelmed. She's overwhelmed. She can't handle this kind of stuff. And Bryan Alvarez, for the record, he's talking about last week on NXT, where Trick Williams and Ricky Starks were fighting all through the show, and they got in the ring and ruined the main event and all that kind of stuff. I absolutely agree with him that something should have been done in storyline to prevent all of that stuff from occurring. Right? And Ava definitely should have laid the hammer down at some point. So he's correct, even on the character analysis, that not doing something, or even worse, rewarding Trick Williams for ruining 2 matches, ruining backstage segments, ruining all kinds of things, this sets a bad precedent. That's part of the problem. The second issue is that it means that Ava's commands, and she has no control over the show, And even on this episode of NXT, Keelani Jordan basically said, there's nothing you can do to me. And Ava was just kind of like, well, I guess you're right. And then immediately found something else to do with her, by making her wrestle another NXT talent. So, yeah, the writing of Ava is bad. I will fully attest to that. My thing is, Ava sucks. And Simone Johnson also sucks. It's not just like, oh, she's playing her character very well, but the character is poorly written. No, the character is not written well. And the acting is not good. Again, she's got gigantic Chicken George teeth. And she talks like Fire Rocheville. She has like just big choppers in her mouth. She can barely talk. And she seemingly has no ideas. She doesn't come up with any creative punishments or anything like that. She's not really involved in the show. There's constant chaos, and she's just kind of laid back, and things happen. It's like to a degree she's trying to be by the book, but it's almost like she didn't really read what the book is. And I think that his criticism of Ava is legit. I think his criticism of Ava was pretty good. You know, it was brutal, but it was good. You know, I don't pay attention to Ava, but he's correct. Okay. I talk about Ava when she's on the screen a lot. You know, that's when I say, like, man, Ava is terrible. She needs to go away. If there's not a whole lot of Ava on the show, I don't go searching for it. I usually, let's talk about the characters that were prominent on the show. I have let it be known months ago I was not a fan of Ava. I wasn't a fan of Simone Johnson. I didn't like it when she was in the group with Joe Gacy. I don't like her. I don't think she's a good talent. All right. I think that her being The Rock's daughter has benefited her career 100%. 1,500% actually. So I think that Bryan Alvarez was being very generous in saying that he was critiquing the character and not the girl, when both should have been critiqued, because she is very not fucking good. She's not good at her job. She sucks. All right, that's NXT though. Thanks everybody for stopping by. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. Salute.